Hey, what's up all? The last couple movies and future movies I'll be doing, I'll be talking about different free agents, players that Seattle brought in, what Seattle's planning for them, like what's their future plans on the team, how are they going to contribute on Seattle's roster in 2020 and moving forward. So, let's get started. So today I'm going to talk about Greg Olsen, tight end from the Carolina Panthers. He was drafted by the Chicago Bears in 2007, traded in 2011 to the Panthers, and from years 14 through 16 he had at least 1,000-yard receiving, Pro Bowl tight end, second best to only Rob Gronkowski. So Seattle was able to get him at the end of last season when Carolina cut him, make room on the roster. It looks like Carolina's making a big overhaul, trying to get young players. So what is Seattle planning doing with them? So Greg Olsen said after being signed that the biggest selling point for him to come to Seattle was Russell Wilson and the atmosphere. Russell Wilson's one of the greatest deep ball passers in the NFL. That's one thing that Greg Olsen is very good at. He's a very good receiving tight end, really good on the vertical plays down the field. That's one area that he can excel at. Will Gisley, he could be another, another player that safety blanket that he can throw to like Will Gisley. Now, one thing with Greg Olsen, he is a very good pass blocker, but only against, from watching film for the last couple of years, he's only been very good against linebackers and safeties. Bigger defensive ends he's struggled against him, but it doesn't mean he's totally bad in that area. He has also compensated, found ways for things to work, throwing his body into the player to block him or whatever. He has found legal ways to make blocking work for him. So, still, I don't think Seattle's going to use him as their number one blocking tight end. I think Will Gisley and Luke Wilson will be Seattle's primary blocking tight ends, with Greg Olsen being more of Russell Wilson's safety blanket in the passing game. The main concerns to look for with Greg Olsen is ever since 2016 he hasn't had a great season. Like he's always gotten injured. He's been very injury prone. Hasn't played very many games, or he hasn't gone. His stats haven't been really high. So hopefully he can rejuvenate himself and get back to his at least 2016 form with Russell Wilson. Now I think when Seattle brought in Jimmy Graham, they were hoping, with bringing him in, they were hoping to get something what Greg Olsen is, where he's more of a passing, a receiving threat, but can block. Jimmy Graham could not block at all, and it didn't even look like in his footage that he was really trying. But even though Jimmy Graham wasn't a great pass blocker, he was still one of the greatest tight ends in Seahawks history. But with bringing in Greg Olsen is going to bring basically what Seattle was looking for back in 2015, with great deep threat, great receiving tight end for Russell Wilson, while be able to block at some good level. So it looks like with Seattle's plans for the tight ends and Greg Olsen, I think Greg Olsen will be Russell Wilson's number one receiving tight end. With Will Gisley, I'm sure he'll be splitting time with Will Gisley. I don't think he's going to be the number one receiver like he's been in the past, but they're going to give him a lot of targets and chances to make big plays. So hopefully we can see some great things from him in 2020. Hopefully they're good. Hopefully he remains somewhat healthy, and hopefully he can help Seattle win a couple more games to get them to win the NFC West and maybe get to the Super Bowl.